We have Daniel back, and Daniel will help us break it down the vote which happened in the House of Commons yesterday.
Yes, yesterday was quite the embarrassment for Canadian politics, but such is par for the course for the last 10 years.
Yeah, explain the audience what the highlight of this vote was and what was actually passed in the House of Commons.
So the first thing is nothing is passed to say. This is a non-binding motion. So what was officially accomplished? Nothing. What does this mean for Canada? Officially nothing. What does it mean for Palestinians? Officially nothing. What does it mean for Israel? Officially double nothing. So what does this mean? No. But this is, let's say, a charade, a political charade orchestrated by the NDP. You could say to attack Israel. You could say, well, no, the real thing is this is sort of an Israel hate-off between the Liberals and the NDP to court the anti-Semite vote that is rising in Canada due to mass migration. It's probably, the hard politics of what's going on here. So you have the NDP, which is Canada's, social democrats, to the left of the Liberals traditionally, instigate a motion that, doesn't care about the hostages, doesn't mention Hamas, but is an Israel bad. This is all Israel's fault. Israel, we need to stop selling weapons to Israel. We don't, and as I've pointed out, we don't even sell weapons to the Canadian army. Okay. So ending arms sales to Israel from Canada, it's already over. We're not even selling arms to our own army. We have Ukraine asking for weapons. We don't have any more to give them. We gave them 6 defective tanks from the 80s or whatever, back when the war started. And, they're asking for artillery. Not artillery pieces, because they have more artillery pieces than they do artillery, but we can't send them artillery or make artillery because we just can't get our stuff together. So we're sending over things they don't need, are asking us not to send. This is the state of the Canadian military. So the Canadian military, the Canadian government can't even fund or equip the Canadian military. We're not equipping the Israelis with anything of significance. So that ended due to our own stupidity years ago before October 7th. So that's the part of Jagmeet Singh's little victory dance that doesn't really apply. The real purpose of this motion, though, is for the NDP to show that they can slap Israel, that they are different than the Liberals, that they will go after the true allies of Western civilization and, attempt to bring it down. And this is them courting the anti-Semite vote. Both the Liberals and NDP are deeply unpopular, but they do know that after a bit of years of conservative governance, the wandering moss of Canadian independence will come back to the Liberals or the left, as they always do. But the hardcore radical Islamists who really hate Jews, winning them over is a priority to these parties. And the best way to do that is to denigrate Israel publicly. So this will do that for the NDP. You had, Heather McPherson and Matthew Green sort of leading the charge here. Matthew Green throws on a keffiyeh in Parliament. He has a long history of anti-Semitism. Like, I know people have worked with him on affordable housing, and then he finds out they're Jewish and they're pro-Israel, and then he ghosts them and, ends whatever projects, more important to spike the Jews and give people houses. This has been his career, and he's bringing the keffiyeh into Parliament. And Heather McPherson's getting up there saying, "I come into work every day for Palestine, not for Israel." These people will accuse any Jewish MP of having dual loyalties to Israel, and ignore the fact that Israel is an actual ally of Canada. So standing with an ally is part of Canadian civil society. And then they will say, no, I come in here and work every day for the Palestinian people, a la Rashida Tlaib in the US. And then these people have the audacity to turn around and talk about the Zionist lobby and this and that. So you have that going on. And what happened, though, is the motion, you saw the internal politics play for the Liberals. The Liberals couldn't go full on death to the Jews because they still have a significant, center left upper middle class base that, they're not some of them are Jews, and some of them are just not anti-Semites, right? They're highfalutin fancy lawyers or people, and they have a lot of Jewish friends, so they don't want to kill all the Jews, and they don't have this anti-Israel hate. They're from Canada. They were brought up in Saskatchewan or whatever, or downtown Toronto, and at the dinner table they talked about dinner or school. They didn't talk about Intifada and whose cousin died a glorious death fighting the infidels. This is not them. So they had to water this down. So what the NDP wanted was like a full unilateral recognition of a Palestinian state. Under what borders and what things, governed by who, no one knows, right? That's a problem. So it was watered down to the standard Canadian position, which is we believe in a two-state solution negotiated by the Israelis and the Palestinians, right? We will support what both sides negotiate to and agree to. So they reverted back to that. So ultimately nothing was accomplished here. But this was we vote for a ceasefire thing. Now, this is bad policy. Now it's silly because it's Canada, we can't do anything. But in general, it's bad foreign policy to make a threat that you can't enforce because it reduces your credibility. This is Obama drawing a red line in Syria and then not enforcing it. If you draw a red line, people cross that red line, you have to shoot them in foreign policy terms. They cross it, you don't shoot. Well, now you have no more red lines. Nothing you say is scary. You have to reestablish deterrence some other way. Obama never really managed to do that. And then you had a new administration come in and reestablish deterrence. This is basically saying, Canada, we're voting for a ceasefire. Okay. Well, how do we enforce a ceasefire as Canada? Are we going to go in there and fight the Israelis to stop fighting the Palestinians? Are we going to then start bombing Hamas? Like every Hamas rocket that flies into Israel, are we as Canadians now going to go in and we're going to take out those Hamas command? We're going to fight both Israel and Hamas now, and Palestinian Islamic Jihad and the PFLP and every other terrorist faction there. We're going to fight both sides to establish a ceasefire because that's the only way you can enforce it. Like, how are we going to enforce a ceasefire as Canada? Stop selling weapons that we've never even sold the Israelis? Like a lot of anti-Semites and people have this idea that every Western nation gives Israel all this aid and that's how Israel survives. That's not even true, right? It's America that does give military aid to Israel. But American aid to Israel is unlike every other aid it gives to every other country. It gives Egypt, it gives Egypt $1 billion a year, just here's $1 billion. The aid to Israel is conditioned that they have to use that money purchasing American weapons manufacturing. It's the same thing sort of they've done in Ukraine. Right? Oh, we're just giving money to Ukraine. Well, America isn't. They're giving money to Americans to make weapons to give to Ukraine, which benefits everyone in that scenario. Right? So we have this perception due to deranged anti-Semites mostly that Canada's just giving billions of dollars in aid to Israel. And no, we're not giving any in aid to Israel. We never have. We give aid to the Palestinians. We give our taxpayer dollars to Hamas and the Palestinian Authority. This pay for slave program where the Palestinian Authority, Mahmoud Abbas, gives a salary to the families of people who commit terrorist attacks, says he wants to give it to the families of the October 7th terrorists as well. That's your tax dollars. That's Canadian taxpayer dollars. So the only Canadian taxpayer dollars flowing into the conflict is to Hamas and the Palestinian Authority. So if you're going to talk about soft political power, we're going to withdraw financial aid to, like, the only people we actually have some sense of deterrence on is actually the terrorists. We have nothing over the Israelis. We give nothing to the Israelis. We have free trade with the Israelis, which is like, oh, you make microchips, we will buy them in exchange for money, and we have corn, you can give us money and we'll give you corn. Like, that's standard stuff. It's not like we're just giving billions to Israel. Like, Israel's a functioning country. It has a thriving tech sector and its own economy, and now it found some natural gas reserves. Like, Israel can exist as a functioning country. It doesn't need like Canadian aid to survive. And we have this construction that the NDP have in their head that even though they're in government and they should be able to review the budget and realize we're not giving any money to Israel, they're pretending though that we're giving trillions and quadrillions of money to Israel every day. Every day we're just sending a bajillion dollars to Israel, and they're going to stop it. In reality, we're giving $0 to Israel, and they've managed to stop the flow of $0. And they've changed before the NDP motion, we were giving $0 to Israel, and now the NDP has succeeded, and we're giving $0 to Israel. Hallelujah! This is what has been accomplished. So it has been a victory in the minds of deranged anti-Semites who have a misconstrued version of reality. But the problem is that's most of the people in the streets, and they just got encouraged. They didn't get exactly what they wanted. I mean, most of the people on the streets want Canada to bomb Tel Aviv. Like that's what they want. They want nothing short of, we want Canada to just carpet bomb Tel Aviv and Jerusalem and Haifa and everywhere else in Israel till they're all dead. That's what they want. Until we get that, we're going to be unhappy. But they just got encouraged because they're saying, oh, the parliament is now playing along with this nonsense. So you're going to see more radicals in the streets. They learn that harassing synagogues works. They learn that harassing, shutting down things. So you're going to see them more violent. You're going to see them more intrusive into public life. You're going to see them more disruptive. and Canadians are going to get more upset, and hopefully they do something about it. But we're at that dangerous point where Canadians might feel that the government's not going to help them, the police are not going to help them, no one's going to enforce the law, and you bring that danger thing where eventually the civilians go, okay, we're going to enforce some law. Like, it's either us or them. Like, we have to take our safety in our own hands. The only real hope that Canada has to delay that is enough people feel that this will get better when we elect Pierre Poilievre in a year and a half. You kind of have to hope that that mentality wins out, that people are just willing to bear this for another year and a half. But you never know. You abuse people long enough and someone's going to snap.